But someone's got to go out there and love people and show it.
And do you think that because of the way you behave, that's precluded you effectively from becoming Queen?
Yes, well, not precluded me, I wouldn't say that. I just don't think I have as many supporters in that environment than I did.
You mean within the royal household?
They see me as a threat of some kind.
These chilling words were spoken by Princess Diana just weeks before her death on August 31st, 1997. For decades, the world has wondered what really happened during Diana's final summer. Was it a tragic accident, a fairy tale romance cut short, or something far more sinister? Royal insiders who were there during those last days have stayed silent for over 25 years. But now, shocking new details are emerging that challenge everything we thought we knew about Diana's final weeks. The truth about her relationship with Dodi Fayed, the warnings from her bodyguards that she ignored, the mysterious phone calls in the middle of the night, and the growing paranoia that consumed her in those final, fateful days. This isn't the story you've heard before. This is the untold truth from people who were actually there. The royal protection officers, the palace staff, and the close friends who watched Diana's world spiral out of control in the summer of 1997. Stay until the end, as we reveal what exactly happened during Diana's last days, and why the people closest to her are now ready to break the silence. Picture the scene. August 30th, 1997. The sun is setting over the French Riviera as the luxury yacht Yonikau cuts through the calm Mediterranean waters. On deck, Princess Diana sits with Dodi Fayed, their faces glowing in the golden light. The photographs from that evening would become some of the last images of Princess Diana alive. But what the cameras didn't capture was the growing tensions behind the scenes. Just 24 hours later, Diana would be dead. But to understand what really happened that night in Paris, we need to go back to the beginning of that summer, because according to royal insiders who were there, the seeds of tragedy were planted months before Diana ever stepped foot on the Fayed family yacht. The summer of 1997 was supposed to be different for Diana. After years of bitter divorce battles and media scrutiny, she was finally free. No longer bound by royal protocol, she could travel where she wanted, see who she wanted, and live life on her own terms. Her boys, William and Harry, were spending the summer with their father. For the first time in years, Diana had no royal duties, no official engagements, just endless possibilities. But with freedom came a price. Without the protection of royal security, Diana was more vulnerable than ever. The paparazzi followed her everywhere, their cameras capturing every moment of her private life. And according to those closest to her, the constant attention was taking its toll. She was exhausted, recalls one former palace aide who spoke on the condition of anonymity. The divorce was finalized, but the pressure never stopped. If anything, it got worse. She felt like she was living in a goldfish bowl with no escape. It was in this state of mind that Diana received an invitation that would change everything. A call from Mohammed Al Fayed, inviting her and her sons to spend time on his family yacht in the south of France. To understand why Diana accepted that fateful invitation, we need to look at the complex relationship between the princess and the Al Fayed family. Mohammed Al Fayed, the Egyptian billionaire owner of Harrods department store, had been trying to gain acceptance into British high society for years. An invitation to the former Princess of Wales wasn't just a social courtesy, it was a trophy. But for Diana, the invitation represented something completely different: escape. In July 1997, she was still reeling from the end of her relationship with heart surgeon Hasnat Khan. Friends describe her as heartbroken and searching for meaning in her post-royal life. The Al Fayed family's offer of privacy and luxury on their yacht seemed like exactly what she needed. The first trip happened in mid-July. Diana brought William and Harry to the Fayed family estate in Saint-Tropez, where they spent 6 days enjoying the kind of normal family vacation that had been impossible during Diana's marriage to Charles. The boys played football, they went jet skiing, and for a brief moment, Diana could pretend they were just another normal family on holiday. But it was during this trip that Diana first met Dodi Fayed, Mohammed's eldest son. At 42, Dodi was a film producer with a playboy reputation. He'd been engaged to American model Kelly Fisher just weeks before, but that relationship quickly fell apart when Diana arrived on the scene. According to Royal Protection Officer Ken Worf, who'd worked for Diana for 6 years, warning signs were already apparent. I advised Diana to be cautious about her association with the Al Fayed family, Worf later revealed. Mohammed Al Fayed was a controversial figure with a complicated relationship with the British establishment, but Diana was drawn to Dodi's charm. Unlike her previous relationships, which had been conducted under intense media scrutiny, her romance with Dodi felt spontaneous and exciting. He showered her with gifts, jewelry, flowers, and most importantly, the promise of a life away from the goldfish bowl of royal life. What royal insiders knew, but couldn't tell Diana, was that Dodi's father was actively encouraging the relationship. Phone records later revealed frequent calls between Mohammed Al Fayed and his son during this period, with the billionaire reportedly urging Dodi to propose to Diana. For Mohammed, a marriage between his son and the Princess of Wales would be the ultimate validation of his place in British society. By early August, Diana was smitten. She returned to the yacht for a second trip, this time without her sons. The images from this vacation, Diana in a swimming costume, laughing with Dodi, looking happier than she had in years, dominated front pages around the world. But behind the fairy tale romance, those closest to Diana were growing concerned. The truth about Diana's final days is far more complex than the romantic narrative that dominated headlines. According to multiple royal insiders who have now broken their silence, Diana's relationship with Dodi Fayed was not the blissful love affair it appeared to be from the outside. Trevor Rees-Jones, Dodi's bodyguard who survived the crash, has never spoken publicly about what he witnessed during those final weeks, but other security personnel who were present paint a picture of a relationship under enormous strain. Diana, they reveal, was becoming increasingly paranoid and erratic. She kept talking about being watched, about people following her, reveals one former protection officer who asked to remain anonymous. It wasn't just the paparazzi, she was convinced there were other forces at work. The paranoia had a basis in reality. In October 1995, 2 years before her death, Diana had written a letter to her butler Paul Burrell, claiming that Prince Charles was planning an accident in her car involving brake failure and serious head injury. The letter only came to light years later, but it shows Diana's state of mind during her final years. What's more disturbing is what royal insiders now reveal about Diana's final weeks with Dodi. Far from being deeply in love, Diana was having serious doubts about the relationship. Phone records show she made numerous calls to friends back in London, expressing uncertainty about Dodi and his family's intentions. She was starting to feel trapped again, reveals Rosa Monckton, one of Diana's closest friends. The attention was overwhelming, and she was beginning to question whether this was really what she wanted. The pressure was coming from multiple directions. Mohammed Al Fayed was reportedly pushing for an engagement announcement, while Dodi was struggling with his father's expectations and Diana's reluctance to commit. Meanwhile, the global media attention meant that every moment of their relationship was scrutinized and analyzed. Perhaps most significantly, Diana was having doubts about her safety. Multiple sources confirm that during her final week alive, Diana made several phone calls expressing fear about what might happen to her. She told friends she felt hunted and worried that forces opposed to her relationship with Dodi might take action against her. The night of August 30th, 1997, Diana and Dodi returned to Paris from their Mediterranean cruise. They were supposed to fly back to London the next day, but Dodi insisted they stay one more night at the Ritz Hotel, which was owned by his father. It was a decision that would prove fatal. The immediate aftermath of Diana's death sent shockwaves through the royal family and the world, but for the insiders who had been with Diana during her final weeks, her death confirmed their worst fears. Ken Worth, Diana's former bodyguard, later said he wasn't surprised by the tragedy. "I had warned Diana about the risks of her lifestyle after leaving royal protection," he revealed. The combination of aggressive paparazzi, high-speed pursuits, and inadequate security was a disaster waiting to happen. Trevor Rees-Jones, the only survivor of the crash, spent months recovering from his injuries. When he finally regained consciousness, he had no memory of the accident itself. But other Al Fayed employees who were present during Diana's final days began to speak quietly about what they had witnessed. Several sources confirmed that Diana had been planning to end her relationship with Dodi. She had confided in friends that she felt the relationship was moving too fast and that she was uncomfortable with Mohammed Al Fayed's attempts to control the situation. She had even begun making plans to return to London permanently and focus on her humanitarian work. The revelation that Diana may have been trying to escape the relationship she died in adds a tragic dimension to her final days. Friends who spoke to her during her last week alive say she sounded trapped and was looking for a way to gracefully exit the situation without causing embarrassment to the Al Fayed family. Perhaps most significantly, several royal protection officers have now revealed that there were concerns within the security services about Diana's relationship with the Al Fayed family. While they stopped short of suggesting any conspiracy, they confirmed that Diana's association with Mohammed Al Fayed, a man who had been critical of the British establishment, was being closely monitored. The French investigation into the crash concluded that driver Henri Paul was drunk and driving at excessive speed while being pursued by paparazzi. But the investigation also revealed that Paul had been receiving payments from French intelligence services, raising questions about who else might have been interested in Diana's movements that night. Diana's death marked the end of an era, but the circumstances surrounding her final days continue to raise important questions about celebrity, privacy, and the price of fame in the modern world. The relationship between Diana and Dodi Fayed has become a symbol of tragic romance, but the reality revealed by royal insiders is more complex. It shows how even someone as experienced with media attention as Diana could find herself overwhelmed by forces beyond her control. The story also highlights the impossible situation Diana faced after her divorce. Without royal protection, she was vulnerable to both paparazzi and potential threats, but her every attempt to find privacy and happiness was turned into a media spectacle. Mohammed Al Fayed's role in encouraging the relationship between his son and Diana reveals the complex motivations that surrounded the princess in her final years. For Al Fayed, Diana represented legitimacy and acceptance into British society. For Diana, the Al Fayed family represented escape and freedom. Neither got what they wanted. The tragedy also exposed the deadly combination of celebrity culture, aggressive paparazzi, and inadequate security. The high-speed chase through Paris that led to the crash was the inevitable result of a system that placed commercial interests above human safety. Perhaps most importantly, Diana's final days show how even the most famous person in the world can find herself isolated and vulnerable. Despite her global celebrity, Diana's last weeks were marked by loneliness, paranoia, and a growing sense that she had lost control of her own life. More than 25 years after Diana's death, the full truth about her final days is still emerging. Royal insiders, who remained silent for decades, are finally beginning to speak, driven by age, changing loyalties, and a desire to set the record straight. The recent investigations into the BBC's Panorama interview, which revealed how journalist Martin Bashir used deception to secure Diana's cooperation, have shown how the princess was manipulated and exploited, even by those who claim to be helping her tell her story. New evidence about Diana's state of mind during her final weeks suggests that the narrative of a happy woman in love may have been far from the truth. Instead, royal insiders paint a picture of someone who was struggling with depression, paranoia, and a growing sense of entrapment. The Al Fayed family's continued claims of conspiracy and murder have kept Diana's death in the headlines, but the testimony of royal insiders suggests a more mundane but equally tragic truth: that Diana died because she was trying to escape a situation that had spiraled beyond her control. As William and Harry continue to deal with their mother's legacy, they face the challenge of separating the myth of Diana from the reality of her final days. Both princes have spoken about the trauma of losing their mother so young, but they have also had to confront uncomfortable truths about the circumstances that led to her death. The ongoing interest in Diana's story shows no signs of diminishing. New books, documentaries, and TV series continue to examine every aspect of her life and death, but the testimony of royal insiders adds new depth to our understanding of her final weeks, showing a woman who was more vulnerable and conflicted than the confident princess the world thought they knew. The tragedy of Diana's final days isn't just that she died so young, but that she died while trying to find happiness and freedom that ultimately proved impossible to achieve. The untold truth about Diana's final days raises difficult questions about celebrity, privacy, and the price of fame. The royal insiders, who have finally broken their silence, paint a picture that's far more complex than the romantic tragedy we thought we knew. Did Diana's quest for freedom after her divorce make her more vulnerable? Could her death have been prevented if she had maintained royal protection? And what does her story tell us about how we treat celebrities and public figures? These aren't just historical questions, they're relevant today as we watch how the media treats William, Harry, and the next generation of royals. Diana's final days serve as a warning about the deadly combination of fame, media attention, and inadequate protection. What do you think really happened during Diana's last summer? Do the revelations from royal insiders change your understanding of her death? And how should we remember Diana as the fairy tale princess or the vulnerable woman revealed by those who knew her best? Subscribe for more investigations that separate rumors from reality community, exploring the untold stories behind the headlines, because sometimes the truth is more complex and more tragic than the myths we create. The people who were there during Diana's final days are finally ready to speak. The question is, are we ready to listen to what they have to say?